L'chaim v'livrocha, to life and for blessings. L'chaim. Oh, a wake-up call. David's coffee. Just wake me up. Life. Life for the living. What does it mean to live life? How do we know we're living life? So we're doing the Parsha Chaya Sarah, which means the life of Sarah. And yet the whole story is about her passing. So what does that mean? Why are you talking about her passing? Is because passing doesn't mean you're not alive. It just means you're not physically a soul and a body found in this world, but that doesn't mean you're not alive. You can be more alive after you pass away than you were physically alive, meaning alive in simple terms means make an impact. Some people might make a greater impact when they pass away. Actually, the righteous make a greater impact when they pass away. As we see, the Alter Rebbe himself, our teacher of Tanya, is making a greater impact today than he did when he was physically alive. So he's alive. That means he's alive, making an impact. Chaya Sarah, this week's Torah portion, speaks about her passing right at the very beginning of the Torah portion. Yet it's called the life of Sarah. Because what was her life? Her life with the Jewish people and making sure that there would be a people. Well, who would those people come from? Her son, Yitzchak Isaac. First, of course, giving birth and raising a son who is the progenitor of the Jewish people. That's her whole life. And in this week's Parsha, well, he gets married. Married is the way you continue to the next generation. So she's truly alive. She's making the impact. So the bottom line is that we should ask ourselves what kind of impact we're making. Not how much we're being impacted. Of course, we learn Tanya, we should be impacted. And when we learn it and we're impacted, so then that will give us the power, the empowerment that we can impact other people's lives. So last night by the TRC is one individual mentioned, Jeff, that he learns Tanya and he's giving it over in his words and his manner to others, that to share with them. Sharing is caring, and to make an impact. Because if you've been impacted by something that's good, pay it forward. Impact with someone else. Impact someone else in their lives. That's called living. Welcome to Tanya Today. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you for Chabad Zichron Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. We can conclude today the 28th letter. This letter, the Alter Rebbe writes to his dear Mechutin, his dear friend, Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Barditchev, who they were related to each other because their grandchildren married each other. So they were related. And he's writing to him because his son, Reb Meir, had passed away. Reb Levi Yitzchak's son his son Meir had passed away. So he's writing to him to give condolences and to comfort. And he's comforting through words of Torah, explaining why Miriam, who was righteous, the older sister of Moshe Rabbeinu, of Moses, she passed away. And in the Torah, it's related, juxtaposed to the law of the red heifer. Red heifer brings a cleansing to someone who came in contact with a human corpse and needs a spiritual cleansing in order that they can go to the Holy Temple and do the divine service in the times when we had the Holy Temple. But the Alter Rebbe asks, why is the Torah juxtaposing it to the red heifer and not to a sacrifice on the altar, which is seemingly more precise? So he continues and explains, when a righteous person passes away, that righteous tzaddik, they illuminate the world. They impact the world in a transcending manner that they can take darkness and turn it into light. That's an impact. That's what they do. They can atone for sins of that generation. Very powerful. So he explains this mystically in Kabbalistic terms. This Abba, which literally means father, is the divine attribute of Chachma, divine wisdom. And it draws its sustenance, Chachma, from the 13 divine attributes of God, divine compassionate attributes of God, from what we call the eighth mazel, which corresponds to the Tikkun Neitzer Chesed. Hashem ki arachum v'chanun erech apayim v'rav chesed v'yemes. Neitzer Chesed is the eighth term of the 13 divine attributes of compassion, right? So Chachma, divine wisdom, draws from that eighth. 7 is nature, 7 days of the week. God creates the world in 7 days. 8 rises beyond nature, right? Like the miracle of Hanukkah, beyond nature, 8 days, right? So Neitzer Chesed, which means he guards kindness for 1,000 generations. That's like forever, right? And the word Neitzer comes from the same word as Ratzain, meaning will, divine favor, auspicious time. So what's that auspicious time that we're talking about? That is utterly transcendent. The 8th tuft of the celestial beard, if it were. That's one reason we have a beard down here, because there's a concept of celestial beard up there that has 13 tufts, 13 components of a beard. That is the foundation of divine compassion. When that divine compassion comes from the divine will that utterly transcends anything of this world. And when does that light of God come into this world that utterly transcends and the darkness of this world and is able then to transform the darkness of this world into light, meaning my darkness, my sin, into transforming it into light, is through the righteous who devoted their lives entirely to God. Complete self-sacrifice, as it says as in the Shema, when they would say the Shema, and everything about them, totally giving themselves over. And they would elicit this divine level that would be revealed at the time of their passing. Wow. The time of their passing, because of their devotion, it's complete, utter transcendence of this world, because the nature of this world is what's good for me. Righteous do not what's good for them, what's good for God. And that's all they do. And that's why they're righteous. We might do it sometimes, but that's all they do completely, day in, day out. And therefore, they're able to elicit and draw down the tuft of Neitzer Chesed, And from this then is drawn down into Chokhmah, divine wisdom, that comes from ultimately the divine will that it transcends this world, and therefore it's able to radiate this world in a way that everything they did in their lifetime is now radiating and illuminating in the world in such a way that brings an atonement to the people of that generation. An atonement for what? Sins. And what kind of sin? Even deliberate sins. Deliberate sins. Not, right? Even deliberate sins. It will bring, right? Just like the red, and this is the idea of the red heifer. And that's why the red heifer is connected to Miriam. Because in Miriam's passing, she brought an atonement to the people, even for their deliberate sins. And it would bring a cleansing. It's a fascinating idea that when in general, important to, I say this is a parenthetical remark because it's not here in the letter, but, we have a tendency to look at death as a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a hard thing. It's a painful thing, but it's not bad. It's coming from God. Everything is good. So what could you say that's good about death? Well, first of all, here we see that, look at the atonement that it brings to the people. Look what it does for the people. And it actually brings atonement to everybody. Their death brings an atonement for them. But the righteous don't need really an atonement for their lives. They're righteous, but they bring it to the people. That's amazing. They bring it to the people. Now, that's specifically for the red heifer. With the red heifer, if someone um, purposefully, willfully made themselves impure because they came in contact with a human corpse, so they're now impure. The red heifer brings cleansing, which is not the case, though, when it comes to a sacrifice on the altar. A sin offering that you bring is only for inadvertent sin. You don't bring for a willful sin. Therefore, the passage of Miriam's passing is connected to the red heifer to teach us that the red heifer brings atonement, right? Even for willful sins, not just inadvertent, but things that were done, purposefully. It brings an atonement. Just as the red heifer brings atonement, so is the passing of the righteous, that the waters of purification bring the atonement. Very powerful. So look at the impact. You think person's passing, well, it's over. We have good memories and maybe good lessons to learn from that person. But no, they're actually impacting the world now more than they did when they were physically alive. That's a pretty powerful thing. Yeah, very powerful. Well, Mashiach as well helped to bring atones for his sins, absolutely. I think he left. Any other questions? Folks, amazing, as always. A reminder that we have begun our annual matching campaign. And Seems like a lot of reminders are necessary. I thank those that came forward and helped out so far. Please, I just put up charity.com/chutzpah/Rabbi Fine. And if you can help out our campaign, whatever you give is doubled, it's matched, which is amazing. And if you can please pay it forward by getting other people to help out. The impact, we need to pay it forward. We've all been impacted by the learning of Tanya. Now's the time that we can show our gratitude and help out, and pay it forward by bringing it to others, and that they will help likewise. Is it only the righteous that can bring atonement for others? Seems to me. Yeah, it seems like only the righteous. I mean, that's what it's saying over here. Because the righteous are connected with others, and we might be, spiritually connected, soulfully connected. I'm not certain how soulfully connected we are with others. Not certain. I mean, we are, but not in an open way. I mean, in an impactful, open way. Good question. That's why our passing, at God willing, after Mashiach, is also an atonement to connect to what we mentioned before. That's why death is not a bad thing, the painful thing. It's a transitional thing. But there's good in it because it brings atonement. It brings a cleansing to the soul. Now, there's other ways to get cleansing, of course. You can get it through a righteous person passing, so you don't need to pass. Oh, so they passed for you, right? Or you can get, of course, by doing tshuva, penitence. You can get cleansing, right? Like the Day of Atonement brings cleansing, exactly. Okay. Yeah, I think that's it. Okay, Rambam, it's coming up.
August 1st, 2023.
I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zurich in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege.